The board of West Ham United can be quite consistent with a few things and therefore predictable. And I think one of those subjects is the sacking of a manager. I think they've got a process and they tend to stick to that process, which makes it predictable. You can see what lies ahead and you can see it coming for some time before it actually arrives. And there's three big questions for me when it comes to this board replacing a manager. Question number one, do you even think they will sack him? Well, you need to answer yes before you can move on to two or three, because I'm going to take the two most recent managers as an example. David Moyes, I never felt they would sack him. I never ever felt they'd sack David Moyes. I would argue I was correct. I was correct. They didn't sack him. Lopetegui, I always felt they would sack him if they had to, and they did. Graham Potter's in the Lopetegui bracket for me. If they have to sack him, they will. Therefore, I can move on to question number two and question number three. When will they sack him and who they're going to replace him with? Because that's the two big questions I'm trying to figure out this week a little bit. Anyway, welcome to Hamish Chat. If you're new to the channel, please do subscribe. And also, please do drop a like on the video as well by clicking thumbs up. And if you really enjoyed the video, give it some hype. Some of you hyped the video on Saturday. It helped out. But I've learned you only get 3 hypes a week. So use it if you want to. But you only get 3. So if you want to use one of your 3 on this video, I'd appreciate it a lot. I'm aware I sound quite upbeat for a Monday morning and the fact that we've just been pumped by Spurs. It's not looking great at West Ham right now. However, went out on Saturday night. I went through the process first of all. It was like an AA meeting. I turned up. Hello, my name's Geo. I'm a West Ham fan. Hi, Geo. I had to talk about the game. I had to talk about Graham Potter. Once I got over that, we ended up having a good night. And I woke up on Sunday feeling good because of my night out on Saturday. And I thought, do you know what? You had my Saturday, West Ham. You ain't having my Sunday. So I took my 3rd day off of the year yesterday. I quite enjoyed it. So I'm feeling a little bit better, actually. The new Braveheart sounds crap, doesn't it? You may take my Saturday, but you'll never take my Sunday. And that's what a day off does to you. Anyway, right, shall we discuss it? I see Nuno. Not physically, he's not been around Stoke. I've seen us being linked to Nuno by reluctant Nico, who can be quite reliable when it comes to West Ham stuff. He often gets a few snippets. And I've seen you use the word admired. West Ham admire Nuno. That's the word when it comes to managers at West Ham. When it's players we're interested in and we're monitoring. That's it. West Ham are interested in this player. We're monitoring the situation of that player. But when it comes to a potential new manager, we admire them. That's what we do. That's how we flirt with managers. We send up the smoke signal via the media. We admire you. Are you interested? Give us a call. Give us a call. Maybe that's what Paqueta was doing at Nottingham Forest. Nuno. Give us a call. Give Sullivan a call. That's the day off. Anyway, let's talk about sacking, then replacing him potentially with Nuno. I think there's a protest on Saturday before the game against Crystal Palace. And I think it's bad news for everyone. So it's bad news for the board of West Ham because it's going to draw attention on them. I think they're going to have to go through the tunnel of embarrassment when they arrive at the stadium in the car and they go through the crowd to get into the car park, and they're not going to enjoy that. I think they're going to get out the car feeling embarrassed, feeling a bit angry, and I think they'll feel like victims. I genuinely think the board think they're doing a good job, so they're going to get out the car going, hang on a minute, what's that lot about? What are they complaining for? How good have they got it? Look at this fantastic Connects stadium. Who doesn't want a stadium made out of Connects and Lego, eh? They don't know how good they've got it. So because of that, I think they'll be thinking, well, why are this lot angry? And I appreciate there's a lot of mental gymnastics here. But I think they believe there's a protest because the results are bad. I genuinely think Sullivan and Brady think they're doing a good job. And they also think, we were winning games, this lot would shut up and go away. So with that belief, I think they'll look at Graham Potter and say, well, it's because of you, mate. Had you beaten Spurs, they wouldn't be stood out there at the gates. They wouldn't be there. They'd go, certainly some of them would be, but the numbers would be fewer. Because we've got smashed by Spurs, there's more of them now. Look what you've done, Graham. I think they'll look at Potter and say, this is your fault. 4 defeats from 5 this season, that's why they're protesting. And I know that's the case. You know that's not the case. But this is a prediction towards the board's mentality. Why? Because I go back to the start. Sometimes they are consistent and sometimes they are predictable. Those thought processes and beliefs from Cannon Brady and David Sullivan will go hand in hand with the thought processes and beliefs they've had since the minute they walked up, which is we are doing a good job. We are good chairman and vice chair of West Ham United. We're good custodians of the football club. They genuinely believe that, I think. So therefore, like, this can't possibly be their fault. So whose fault is it? Graham Potter. So that's reason number one. I think they will be willing to sack him because they'll need to do something. They're going to have to do something to try and calm West Ham fans down. And I think they'll think the solution is changing the manager. Oh, but do that. That'll keep them quiet. And I'm not saying it will. I don't think it will. And I don't think it should. But I think they will think that. The new guy comes in and starts winning games. That'll quiet things about. The mainstream media will turn. The mainstream media are focusing on us at the minute. So how do we get them away from us? Sack Graham Potter, hire a new manager and go, that's what they wanted. West Ham fans wanted Graham Potter sacked. We gave them what they wanted. Report that. I think it'll be a PR move. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a footballing move as well because Graham Potter is shocking. But I think they will do it for the PR side of it as well. Reason number two, Sullivan just never rated him. Sullivan's never rated Graham Potter. We go back a couple of years to when we were potentially replacing David Moyes after winning the Conference League in 2023. That's when Sullivan was pumping out his quotes to anyone that would listen about Graham Potter, because Potter's stock was relatively high at Brighton at that point, I think. And I may have my timeline slightly wrong. Maybe it was 2022. At some point, we were linked to Graham Potter, and he was at Brighton. He hadn't gone to Chelsea yet. So when he was at Brighton and his stock was high, Sullivan was telling anyone that would listen, no, we don't want him. We don't like him. I don't like him, Sullivan. I don't like him. He's not a good head coach. He's only doing well at Brighton because of the infrastructure around him, because they've got such good scouts, because they bring in such good players. That's why Graham Potter's really good at Brighton. Now, the mad thing here is he was probably correct. So David Sullivan actually got something right in regards to his evaluation of football, and in particular Graham Potter. But this summer, well, not this summer, back in January, he went against his own beliefs of Graham Potter, and he went with Cannon Brady's husband's beliefs of Graham Potter. Cannon Brady's husband's mate. Oh yeah, you're a good manager. Yeah, he's a top manager. Bring him in. But I think the guy with his finger on the trigger, I don't think he's a big fan of Graham Potter. So I think he'll be willing to blame Potter, and I think he probably does blame Potter. I wouldn't be surprised if in his close circle he's saying, this guy's crap, right? This guy is rubbish. In the summer, we were getting the signals from the club, weren't we, that it was Graham Potter's fault because of the transfer window. Because whilst I still think we were too short come the end of the window, a good centre-back, in terms of quantity, I think we're fine. In terms of quality, I think we're lacking. And then I think in terms of quantity and quality, I think we're lacking up front. But then before we brought in Fernandez and Magassa, Igor, and then Fabianski, I think he was telling people, I'm taking charge of the window. That lot haven't been good enough. It's my turn now. That's a sign that he's not happy with Graham Potter and, in this case, Kyle McCauley, who we paid £1 million for from Chelsea. I think Sullivan was looking at the pair of them thinking, you two ain't doing what you're supposed to do here. I don't like it. So I think Sullivan was a big fan. I don't think Sullivan is a big fan. And then you look at the results. They're just not great. And here's the thing for me. Coming out of last season into the summer, I think there was a few reasons to be hopeful. Right? If you had to write down a list of good and bad of Potter. And on the good side, one thing I would have written down was we were no longer getting pumped. Now, I haven't gone and checked. Maybe I should have done my research. But I don't feel like we got a hiding last season under Graham Potter. I can't recall one. I feel like we were always a goal away from a point at least. I feel like when we got beat, it was 2-1, 1-0. I never felt like we were going to get thumped 3, 4, 5-0. And I appreciate, by the way, I'm clutching at straws. It wasn't my only small... My good list was small, but it wasn't my only thing. But my point I'm making here is that is gone, and that's gone quickly. That feeling of we're not going to get hiding under Potter. Under Lopetegui, I used to have this feeling, which was we're going to get hiding. And I've got it now. Like, I've had it for Well, since the Sunderland game, to be honest with you. But I genuinely feel if we go a goal down, we're going to lose 3-4-0. And you can't feel like that. And I didn't last season under Potter because there wasn't any evidence. This season, there's now no evidence to suggest we won't get pumped if we concede first. 3-0, 5-1, 3-0. The evidence suggests if we concede first, we're going to go on and concede a minimum of 3 goals. Even the Wolves game, in which we got back into it and took the lead, we still conceded 3 goals. Wolves reserves. So that suggests it's a mentality problem, it's a tactical problem. I think it's both, as well as a personnel problem. But you can't have that. And looking at the fixtures ahead, Crystal Palace at home, Everton away, Arsenal away, and then there's an international break. I've always thought you would get until then. I'd always thought, and even this is before the Nottingham Forest win, I thought, nah, you'll get until the October international break. I think it depends, isn't it? If we somehow get a draw against Palace, I think he'll be here till then. Get beat by Palace, I'm not sure he makes it. I think that international break is the latest, the absolute latest we can make change. I would make change before then, but if we haven't made a change, if we get the results don't, obviously we win all 3 games, we're not going to sack him, right? We ain't winning all 3 games. We ain't winning 2. I'd be surprised if we win 1. Right? At this point, you're asking me for predictions. You probably aren't, but if you were, I'm saying defeat, defeat, defeat. I think we lose all 3. So at the very, very, very latest, he gets sacked. It's at the full-time whistle against Arsenal. The next day, flag is on the official website. He's gone. And the reason that there's going to be time, he won't get sacked this week. I'm very confident he will still be here Sunday morning. He may not be here Sunday night. It depends on the Palace game. But Sunday morning, at the earliest, I think he'll go. Because this board need to do their process. They've always had a process. And they will say, oh, we stick by managers. Not really. Not really. Right? Maybe historically. But let's go recent. Lopetegui sacked. David Moyes, end of contract. Pellegrini sacked. David Moyes, end of contract. Slaven Bilic, sacked. They are willing to sack managers. That's like 3 of the last 4 have been sacked. They will sack Graham Potter if they have to. I've got no doubts about it. And the reason I never ever thought they'd sack David Moyes is because he had credit in the bank. He'd done well. He'd produced results. Potter ain't done that. He's done the opposite. He's bottom of permanent managers for West Ham United. He's bottom of everything. Goals scored, home games won, points per game, whatever. He's bottom. All the evidence says this guy's crap. He's out his depth and he needs to go. But there's a process. And the one thing that this board are consistent at is whether it's sacking a manager or letting a contract run out. Bilic, they had Moyes lined up. Moyes had Pellegrini lined up. Pellegrini then Moyes lined up. Moyes, they had Lopetegui lined up. Lopetegui, they had Potter lined up. There's a pattern here. They need the next guy in place before they sack the current guy. And I've got no doubt they'll be putting the feelers out to a few different managers. Sean Dyche, Nuno. I've seen the rumours about Mourinho. I wouldn't be surprised if we've inquired. I wouldn't be surprised if we put the feelers out there anyway. I wouldn't be surprised if Mourinho's put the feelers out to West Ham saying, "Oi, I'm available." He's spoken about West Ham in the past, Mourinho, and quite, with admiration. And also, he's spoken before that his next project after Fenerbahce, he wants a lower-end Premier League team. Right, there's not many of those around. I think if we don't move, Leeds United might move for him. If he's willing to go to Leeds, I think that's one club that I could see him ending up at, which might sound crazy, but I'm sticking with it. I expect them not to sack Graham Potter this week, but I expect them to be chatting to other managers to find out who's available and who's willing. Well, actually, I say available, they know who's available, because they won't speak to anyone that's in a job. I'm still, again, consistency, predictability. They will not pay to get someone out of a contract. I've seen something last night. West Ham have got a list and there's some big managers on there. I'm not believing it. I'm not buying it, right? Unless it's, unless it's a big name that's unemployed, possibly. But that's it. I will not believe any links to any managers that are currently in a job. No chance, right? None. This board don't do it. So he's going to have to be unemployed. And if they're unemployed, they're easy to speak to. It's more difficult to try and tap up a manager currently in work. Slightly. But an unemployed manager, it's easy, right? It's easy to find out if they want the gig. And I'd imagine, and I expect, and I hope that's what they're doing this week. They are working out who they can get to replace Graham Potter. Nuno's the name at the minute. Makes sense as to why he's the name. I'll keep my evaluation of him short and sweet because I've spoken longer than I thought I would regarding the situation. Oh, by the way, after the international break, this is the other part. Post-Arsenal, we've got an international break. Once we come back, Brentford at home, Leeds away, Newcastle at home, Burnley at home. That's crucial. That 4 games are crucial. That's the games that will make or break our season. You pick up 7 points in those 4 games, we might be okay. Pick up 6. Anything less, we're in trouble. Those 4 games, I just don't think we can have Graham Potter in charge of those. Now the next 3, I don't think we can have him in charge of those. But I've written them off anyway. Even if we were to hire a new manager, I don't think we'd pick up much from those games, if any. But after that international break, that block of 4 games are crucial. 3 of them are at home, which arguably is a disadvantage. Brentford, Leeds, Newcastle, Burnley. Big games. As for Nuno, it depends what we want. If the board wants someone to keep us up, then I think he's a good hire. If the board wants someone to come in and play good football, I don't think he's a good hire. I think he's effective. I think he would come in, he'd make us hard to beat. I think he'd pick up some results. I think he would do enough and possibly more than enough to keep us up. And it's sad that we're thinking like this. 4 games into the season, we're thinking we need a firefighter already. But I don't necessarily disagree. I think we've looked that bad. We've looked that poorly. And I'm that worried. Put it this way, if we keep Graham Potter, I've always thought there's a possibility we go down. How possible, it's only got stronger. It's difficult not to, right? We're currently in the relegation zone. 3 beat-ups out of 4. So if we keep Potter for the whole season, there's a good chance we go down. That's the reality. So maybe it is. Maybe we are already thinking, can we just get someone that's just going to keep us up? And I think Nuno would do that. I don't think people would enjoy it, though. I don't think people would enjoy it. He'd done a very impressive job with Wolves. He'd done a very impressive job with Nottingham Forest. Listen, that's underselling it. He'd done an incredible job with Wolves. Up, not only to stay up, European football. To take Wolves, people speak about Nottingham Forest. I think the Wolves team was arguably more impressive, getting them into European football. Then it went a bit stale. Obviously, Spurs just was bad. And then Nottingham Forest did really well. Then did incredible getting them European football again. And then a bit of self-sabotage on his part. So I think he will do a good job. But listen, I thought he did incredibly well at Nottingham Forest, but the football was not good. He was sitting back, 30% football, defensive football, defend, attack, defend. And Chris Wood was the most clinical striker in the Premier League last season. So I think we'd be hard to beat. I think defensively we would be better. I have reservations though, because a lot of Nuno's football relies on your centre-backs being able to defend. Although saying that, I think Kilman and Mavropanos in the last couple of games have done all right. I think Mavropanos has been brilliant recently. So maybe they would be okay. I think he'd get Bowen back to his best. I think he'd get Paqueta looking good. I think he'd enjoy working with Fernandes. People won't like it, but I think he'd enjoy working with Tom Suchek. We know one player he won't enjoy working with, and that's Ward-Prowse. He didn't play him at Nottingham Forest, so if Nuno came in, I think Ward-Prowse would be out that team. Nuno would even put him on the bench at Nottingham Forest, so he's someone that's not a fan of James Ward-Prowse. So a lot of people would get their wish of no James Ward-Prowse by hiring Nuno. But it depends on where your standards are, where's your bar at. Because if we go back to the end of David Moyes, I think the argument for a lot of people, it was just the style of play. It was just a lack of entertainment, as well as some of the results. But that's why when people say, oh yeah, but you wanted Champions League football, I never said that. I've never once said, I think West Ham should have Champions League football, because I've never once believed we would get it. Unrealistic. My grievance with Moyes was I just didn't enjoy it. When he was winning games, it was... I mean, to be fair, there was the first 2 seasons, I enjoyed that. With Jesse Lingard in the team, I thought that football was great. That was good. It was just the other 2 seasons, I didn't enjoy it. I stopped enjoying it. I thought the results were bad. When I say bad, I don't mean overall. 14th in a trophy and then 9th. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. That's okay. That's fine. More than fine. It's really good. If you offer me 14th in a trophy this season, yes, please. You offered me 9th. Yes, please. So the overall result wasn't the issue. It was just we were getting a few hidings handed out to us. I think you could make a case it was circumstantial. But I feel like a lot, not all, but some, wanted a change just due to the style of football that was played. And that's the camp I was in. If we played better football and we replicated the overall results, again, overall, not before someone says, oh, 5-0 away to full. No, not the individual ones, the overall results. I'd have been happy. That's why I want to change. But I can't have that and then be an advocate for hiring Nuno, because you're going to get the same. You might even get a poor man's Moyes with Nuno. You're not going to get entertaining football. It might be effective, which is we defend and we counter-attack quickly and score. But there will be a lot of games where it's tough to watch. But here's the difference. When we went to replace David Moyes, we were in a great position as a football club. Just finished 9th, just missed out. We weren't far away from European football that season either. A decent enough squad with a lot of money to spend. We were in a good place. We could have hired. I genuinely feel like the guy I wanted most was Areola from Bournemouth. I genuinely feel like we could have attracted him that summer if we wanted him. But we can't get him now. He's no chance. No chance of getting him now. So I think the pool of managers post-Moyes was quite big. I think the pool of managers for West Ham now, I mean, it's still quite big, but a lot of those that might have came to West Ham post-Moyes, Marco Silva, Areola, Thomas Frank, I think we could have maybe got Thomas Frank had we went for him. Today, I'm not sure we could attract another Premier League manager. Those in jobs. I think even if we went to Burnley for Scott Parker, I'm being genuinely serious here. I'm not sure we'd get him. I'm not sure Scott Parker said, yeah, go on then, I'm going to West Ham. I think he said, no, I'm all right, thank you. I'm going to stay where I am. I think that's how far we've fallen. I think that's how bad the club are. So whilst I would like to see us go out and be ambitious and try and hire the best manager possible for the job, even if it means paying compensation, I think today, I don't think they're willing. I'm not even sure they're capable. As in, if they tried to, I'm not even sure the manager would be willing to come. I actually think they're maybe stuck to that pool of managers, which is the job centre lot, the unemployed lot. Nuno, I think he's an upgrade on Potter. So it'd be a reluctant yes for me. I wouldn't be excited, but I'd feel more confident that we're not going to get relegated. But I also think we're going to have the same issues long term. We might get a good year, 18 months out of him. Then I think it might be a case of, football's a bit crap. Can we have a new manager in? And we're back to where we started. Just worse off as in the appeal of West Ham United to those managers we can maybe have attracted. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. This is what happens when I have a day off. Just a load of rubbish comes out. But to summarise, I don't think they'll sack him yet, but I think they will eventually if they have to. I think he will be seen as the sacrificial lamb. I think Sullivan and Brady might say, yeah, get him gone, and hopefully that'll shut them up. They're only protesting because of him, because the results are bad. His fault. Get him gone. But I think now, this week, I think they'll be speaking to other managers to work out who will replace Graham Potter. Like I said, there's 2 big questions left for me. When will they sack him? Depends on the result against Everton. Palace get beat by a couple of goals by Palace. It might be this weekend. And who's going to replace him? And hiring Nuno? I think it feels like the most obvious and most realistic one, bar Sean Dyche. Nuno or Dyche. My money would be on one of those 2.